Energy is the new currency. It's what I'm being told. So I'm just gonna let my energy flow. And I hope you get it. Where power reigns supreme. Energy's the currency that fuels our dreams. No more dollars, no more cents, just watts and volts. That's how we gon' pay the rent. Oh baby, it's energy. No more gold and silver, it's the brand new currency called energy. Energy's the key. Some say it's the fortune and fame, but all I keep seeing is the currency. I keep hearing energy. Energy, energy, charging up lives, setting up some free lights within us, playing chess in 3D. From the morning's light to the midnight hour, our energy is the source that gives us that righteous power. From the morning's light.
Welcome everyone to Minding Your Heart with Dr. Poetry. Yes, today we're going to talk about a lot of things. It's been a minute. I've had a hell of a week, and I'm sure you have too. But I want to share some wonderful things with you guys. The first thing is that we're always growing, right? I'm always saying that we're always growing. And we are, you know. I said this the last time. I said sometimes we have to give ourselves a few days to actually jump into that growth, right? We talk about how we're not perfect. This is simple stuff. This is ABC. This is Mickey Mouse stuff, right? We know that we are challenged sometimes. So with all that being said, keep being great, keep being you, whoever you are. It doesn't matter. We get challenged all the time. And yes, we participate in the foolery and the fuckery, if you want to call it that. We lose patience. And we shouldn't use we're growing as an excuse. But it gives me comfort knowing that I am growing. I don't want to weaponize that. I've actually made decisions to say this week it's gonna be hard for me. I'm gonna stand in what I believe or what I know to be true. And with all those things, you say to yourself, okay, let's move forward. And I love that. Let's continue. All right. So I've been having conversations with my sisters. I love my sisters. Shout out to Julie, Jessie, Belinda. She's a handful, but I love you. And one thing I have to say is that it's been really, really, really tough dealing with my mama. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this up today is because I know many of us who are in their 30s, 40s, even 50s, definitely 50s, are somehow losing relatives. We're losing an aunt, an uncle, right? An old neighbor that you just remember their smile when you were a child. You remember just those leftover meals sometimes or just inviting you over for a slice of cake. You know, I love cake. So when you think about those days, don't you want to kind of like miss the smell of their food, right? If you grew up like me, I grew up in the city. And I remember just all these apartments next door, and you would just smell all these different types of foods, and they weren't necessarily from your culture, but you enjoyed it and you tried it. And I remember my mama doing the same thing. Oh, send over a plate to so and so. Make sure you give her this or you give that, or they'll bring down their food. Well, all those memories are coming back to me now because yes, my mom is not well, and she's not. She could do better. But this is why I want to dive into this conversation because there are definitely challenges. Challenges. You know, one minute you think she's going, and then one minute you just see her fighting. So today's topic is letting go of our parents as they struggle to remain alive. I'm not saying to disown your parents. Let me be abundantly and categorically clear. What I am saying is don't frustrate yourself. I can't believe I'm saying that. Because I'm the first one that gets frustrated. What I'm saying is, let's dive into it. I'm trying to figure it out. And when I do these, I hate to say shows, because I'm not putting on a show. I'm sharing with you guys. It is challenging. We are at an age where we have everything going on, right? Most of you have children, right? You have children. Some of your children have children. You have your grandparents. You are grandparents. You have work. You have all your own hopes and your own dreams that you're applying, right? And then that big thing that's happening, you're letting go. Your parents are fighting to stay alive. And what I'm saying is letting go of the idea that they're going to be around forever. Now, they will be in our hearts, but the avatar suits, we're all going to go. If there's a truth, is that truth. Shout out to Stereo. I heard them having a conversation in which I participated. What is what is truth and what is a fact? Well, I know a fact and a truth. We are born and we die, at least the avatar. So let's get into it. Today's topic, like I said, it's about letting go of our parents, right? What does that look like? Letting go of our parents, whether through, I don't know, debilitating illness, right? Or it's inevitable. That whole thing, it just feels like a finality of death. And we know that is one of life's most profound emotional challenges. It asks us to face both the fragility um, of those who raised us, right? A lot of us get upset because there's some unfinished business of our histories with our parents, and we know what that looks like. For many of us, this process is complicated, okay? It is so complicated. Some of us had, and I'm not sitting here to start boohooing on this Sunday. I'm not boohooing. I'm not saying let's stay in the negativity. A lot of people say, "Oh, you guys got to move on." But what if you never spoke about it? What if you never talked about it? What if you never dared to say anything and all that's inside of you? Sure, poetry helps. I try to talk about everything in poetry. That's what poetry's for. I have mentioned a couple of things in my poetry. But I try to I always end in a solution. Like we're gonna be better, right? But let's not make a mistake. Some of these processes of letting go of our parents, it's complicated because many of us, we've had rough and painful childhoods. You guys, you know this. And some of the wounds, I don't believe they will never be healed. I don't believe that, a lot of people say, well, they would never be healed. I don't believe that. I think every time we take a step forward and we wake up, and especially those who have children, you're able to rectify that. You're able to cut the toxicity of family traumas, right? Um, but I like to believe there is a way to navigate through this journey of letting go of our parents with grace, you know, without harming ourselves emotionally, without becoming hardened by bitterness, without succumbing to vindictiveness. Because this journey is really about acceptance. I know this for a fact. Because we have to accept that these things happened and it's okay to finally let go. Because the act of seeing our parents basically end up passing, it's the end of that. Shout out to Mr. Hercules. You guys heard him. We have to be very conscious of that. We should, because it is a journey of acceptance. We learned many, many, many moons ago as children to honor the humanity of our parents. And if you're in a Puerto Rican household, Boricua household like I grew up, there's something called bendición. If you walked into the home and you didn't say bendición to your mother or to your aunts, they're looking at you sideways, and you may get a little chancletazo, okay? But the fact is that even if we look at them as humans, right, we are always thinking of their flaws, right? We carry the weight of how should I say this? Of their mistakes. We carry the weight of their mistakes. We tend to have trouble navigating, right, with our own brothers and sisters. In my case, my sisters, we talk about it, we laugh, we make jokes, we're very funny with it. I think sometimes my sisters and I, if we had the time, I think if I could bring my sisters in, we would create a whole hell of a similar to Living Color. We would we would have a whole show about things, how they went down in my home, and they weren't necessarily all bad, but most of them were very, very rough. But there were a lot of funny things, and we make joke, we laugh about it. But this is about, how do we hold on to compassion? How do we recognize that each one of us are grieving, that we have these memories, that we're coping? And I hate the word coping already, because do we want to always be coping? Do we want to be coping? Right? I just feel like my main mission is, I want to erase the bad and remember the good. And sometimes I feel like I'm I'm a hypocrite, because sometimes remembering the bad is going to push me to do good, so that I know what not to be, right? So some people have the goal that they don't want to erase the past, but they want to create closure, right? And that's somehow rooted into self-respect. And I feel like that's self-love for me as well. I do believe that it's self-respect, self-love, empathy, and peace. So I kind of want to talk about today, how we exploring, how do we release this resentment without denying the truth? Because remember, we're living in a time where we're podcasting, we have shows, we have songs, we have poetry, we make beats, we have all these different outlets. Yet there's always someone criticizing you and saying, "Well, damn, why do you always talk about the negativity? Or why are you always so happy?" Just know this has nothing to do with anybody else but yourself. This has to do with the way we, right, let go of our parents, especially through debilitating illnesses and inevitable death. How do we face these emotional challenges? How do we do that? You know, um, it's hard. It's hard to protect our emotional well-being. It's hard to protect my emotions, especially me at work. I see a lot of folks that come in with similar situations. Oh, my mom is acting, she doesn't want to take her medication. She doesn't want to take a bath. She's fighting everyone. She's being mean. She's giving away her money. She's online, fantasizing in relationships. Like the things I hear, oh, my mom is disappearing. We have what we call, excuse me, we have something called uh silver alert. Silver alert in Puerto Rico, in Borinquen, it's when an elderly is missing. Someone from the advanced age is missing, because they just decided to walk away because they are suffering from Alzheimer's and dementia and all types of stuff. So I want to look at practical emotional strategies. I'm not saying this is the way it should be. What I am doing is sharing with you in a beautiful way that I am going through certain things right now. I am facing the music. Recently, I created a poetic expression that I had it so deep down in my soul. I felt like no one knew about that. And I may have mentioned it to one or two people as we talk. But as I look at my mom, and it hasn't been easy. She's a wonderful woman, but she has been very, very tough with us. And I take the good and I take the bad. And I'm trying to remember her in the best way possible. She's still here, but it's almost like I lost her already. Sometimes she doesn't know if she's coming or going. Yesterday, for a second, she was like, "Who's that?" When we were FaceTiming, and my sister was like, "That's Izzy." And she looked up and she said, "Izzy, you're so beautiful." And I said, "Wow, okay, thank you, Ma." And I wonder if she remembers certain things. I wonder if she's understanding all the things that we saw when we were children and all the great things and all the bad things, and sometimes they leave this earth and some of us stay with it. And I'm trying to figure out how do I navigate? How do I know, but I don't know. I preach, but I don't apply. This is me being honest. This is me minding my heart. How do I put things into perspective so that I don't get painfully uh, almost hardened with bitterness? Do you get what I'm saying? I know you do. I know you do. We all have had someone has. And kudos to you if you had such a beautiful upbringing and all your emotions are in order and your children are beautiful and your children have not been tainted. Shout out to you if you, and I'm not being funny. I really mean it. Shout out to you. Kudos to you. If you just know how to do everything so perfectly, because I hear it a lot. Oh, well, I've done this and I've done that, and my children and I was able to get the help and I'm fine. Listen, help those who need help. It's good to hear that. I salute you on your journey of acceptance. I believe we are here to learn how to honor humanity, but we are also here at the end of at the end of the road when our parents are about to go. We have to, and I say we have to because I feel that I'm speaking for a lot of people and maybe I shouldn't. So I'll fix this really quick. I feel like I have to honor the humanity in my mother without romanticizing her flaws or carrying the weight of her mistakes. That's just me. How do we navigate with our brothers and sisters, our siblings, you know, with compassion, recognizing that each of one of us, we grieves differently and we all are experiencing grief. Our memories, our coping mechanism, our coping mechanisms they're all different, they differ greatly. They're so different. But I want to know how do we not erase the past but create closure that's rooted, like I said earlier, I feel like I'm being redundant, but I feel the need to repeat it. Self-respect, empathy, and peace. So I just want to say I have a wonderful, wonderful way of dealing with certain things, and I've said this too many times. My way of doing things is with poetry. So without further ado, I give you poetic confessions. I was the last to be born. My big eyes scared you. You sensed my power when you surgically closed your womb, and yet I still was conceived. I came through without any labor pain. I was immediately a loss for you and not a gain. A few days old, you broke Dad's windshield. He had another woman pregnant, and you were torn, scorned, bitter. So I was the kitten taken out the litter, given to the Avon lady to feed and nourish while you recuperated from your narcissism. And I love you, Madrina, for your love and guidance. You, I will always cherish. Why was I the one to be given away for a few years while you figured out life?
Life. You were figuring out life with broken bones, black and blues, and bloody tears. Why do you hate me so much? Am I the reminder of a love that never was but lust behind a matrimony prohibited cause dad never gave a fuck? So many times you beat the trust out of me, the peace out of me, the confidence out of me. I watched you wash bloody scissors to tell me don't open the door for no one, not even NYPD. Secrets I never understood, I couldn't grasp. But when I swallowed every pill at 13, you thought I was on dope. So I received slap after slap after slap, that graduation ring on your finger, slap after slap, slap after slap. You dragged me through the floor after being released from the hospital as they pumped my stomach in ICU. I hated being me, cause I was never good enough for you. And you who attempted to throw me out of a 15th floor window and throw my face in scorching oil frying chicken wings, you couldn't process why I tried to kill myself after all the dysfunction I witnessed in 680 Tinson Avenue, apartment 15A. Watching Ruby, my stepdad, kill a man on self-defense, walk into the precinct to bring you Parliament cigarettes. In my pastel pink butterfly barrettes, I was scared. I was sick. I was fighting and flying in misery, breaking out of a child into a woman, first responding to your self-destructive beginnings and endings. My brain stopped sending messages to my nerve, discombobulating my whole operating system. Yes, my nerves were discombobulating my whole operating system. And now everything I touched in that home, man, I broke everything. Cause now I'm nervously moving in a fearful environment. Nothing is making sense. Cause I dream of my name carved in cement. Cause the worst thing to feel is a mother's hatred when you couldn't even show up to my high school graduation. Forgetting my 16th birthday. I was locked out the apartment on prom night. I was late to attend. You fucked up every important life event. On my wedding day, you walked in and asked, how do I look? Overlooking me in my white, beautiful, lacy wedding gown with Swarovski crown. Oh my God. But Mom, I wanted to be your daughter that made you, super proud. I was that daughter that wanted to make you super proud. But all you did was criticize and put me down. But today, all those feelings have been drowned, burned, evaporated into the wind because the older version of younger me has risen from the ashes. I healed. I'm enlightened. And younger me, I'm protecting her. I became a cop to be what I needed when I was my younger me. A child in disbelief that parents, they can be the poison, the venom, obliviously creating trauma, unnecessarily sadness. My younger me forgives you for not being emotionally intelligent while attempting to mold me. Mommy, Josie, you always said I was super intelligent, beyond my time, and you repeated often that I was extremely talented. And for that, I will continue to walk in gratitude. You saw me in what you wanted to be. You saw in me what you wanted to be. And I saw fear in your eyes when you attempted to beat the soul out of me. I didn't blink, and something in me ticked. My eyes didn't flinch. I disassociated and broke the generational curse that ties me to all of that. I broke the links, walking with my head up high. I am convinced I am beautiful. I am intelligent. I am worthy. I am adequate. I am enough, regardless of your destructive, tough love. I'm Dr. Poetry.
It is one of those things, I tell you. So, here we are. That was a rough one. That was a rough one. Definitely a rough one. I'm not going to pretend to say that it was easy to share. It's not. It really isn't. Let me take a little drink of this. A little tea. I've been drinking tea to help me relax. So I said a lot there, but I will say all this. There was good in my home, and mom did what she could with what she had. She must have been through some trauma in her life as well to react the way she did when we were growing up. And today I want to honor her by letting her know that all that I forgive. I forgive all of that. You know why I forgive it? Because I knew at an early age something wasn't right. Now, I'm human, so there was some questions I've had all along. But in her mind, I truly believe, even though, her brain is not functioning the same, I do believe somehow she is remembering all that. Somehow. It's almost like when I heard her say, you look beautiful, or you're beautiful. It's I don't know. I want to think, and this is where we talk about romanticizing, right? Trying to convince ourselves, we gaslight ourselves by saying, you know, I don't want to have no hate in my heart. I do not want it. I don't. I could come out a few days and be like, you're this, that, then, and a whole bunch of things. I could cut you with some words. And that goes for anyone. But I have I have spirit. Okay. I do know that source lives within me. God lives within me. And God is love. So I have love. And if you have love, you know that you should honor your parents and forgive not only for them, but for yourself. Do I want to share all those things? And no, I'm not painting her to be a bad guy. If you notice in that poem, I speak of that she always made me feel certain, like I wasn't good enough. But there were days where she would just say, you're very smart. Or, oh, you could dance. But it wasn't really said directly to me. It was kind of like she would share that with people when I wasn't present. So I would hear about it later on. Like, oh, I heard about you. Your mom speaks so highly of you. And in my heart, I'm like, I didn't hear all that. What do we do with all those things? What do we do? Do we stay in anger? Do we get upset? Do we become bitter? Of course not. Of course not. There's no way we could become bitter, you know? I like to think of solutions. I like to explore solutions. I'm not saying this is the answer, but I am getting my feet wet with these emotional strategies. They're practical, you know? For letting go of our parents gracefully while protecting our own well-being and avoiding bitterness. And that poem did sound bitter, but at the same time, I'm also letting go. I am letting go. So I'm going to accept two truths at once. I'm going to acknowledge that my mom may have caused pain and still show care or respect as they decline. They meaning my mom, and I remember my dad. He already passed, but I was going through that already in 2020. And in 2020, I was like, "How do I respect you if I'm so angry at you?" I remember when he passed, I was like, I couldn't even cry. I didn't cry. I did not cry. His The coffin was going down, and I was just sitting there like, "Oh, I was angry. I was very bitter. I'm owning it. I was very bitter and angry. I don't think I had the opportunity to mourn the way I should have because I went straight to anger. Some of us grieve differently. I was in anger. It took me a minute. So I do believe that I have to acknowledge my mom. Um, yeah, she may have caused me some pain and still show care and respect. I need to show care and respect as she declines. And I also need to let go of the need for them to for her. And this is for you guys as well. Should we let go of the need for them to fully understand and validate our experiences? That's a question. Should we let go of of the idea, right? And the need for them to fully understand and validate our experiences. How did I feel as a child when I saw all that stuff that I broke down in that poem, in that piece? I am trying. I'm trying. I'm really trying. I'm trying to let go of the need for her to fully understand and validate my experience. Because right now it's not about me. And I always felt it was never about me. And that's the problem. I'm stuck here like, God, even when you're dying, you making this about you. And it's supposed to be about them because they're going. You kind of want to go back into time and say, make it about us. But we have to release that, because releasing it, I know it's gonna feel freeing, you know? That release can be deeply freeing. That release can feel like a deep sensation of freeing, right? So there's something else. I was reading about protecting our boundaries without guilt. How do we protect our boundaries without guilt? This goes for everything too, guys, because I've learned something in the past few weeks. I'm not going to get into it. Nobody cares your side of the story. People are going to always talk about you and make you feel like you are insignificant. I do not care about that anymore. And I do believe that I will continue to protect my boundaries without guilt. So, one of the things that came up in trying to understand how do I let go of my parents, well, my mom now, gracefully while protecting my own well-being and avoiding bitterness. And one thing came up, another thing came up, I should say, protecting my boundaries without feeling guilt. Yeah. I- I- If certain conversations or visits trigger old wounds, I will limit my time, my frequency, or that depth of engagement. I will give myself permission to say no to situations that drain me emotionally. I'm okay with that now. I wasn't always like that. I was quick to be like, and there are times where I reserve moments to participate in stuff that maybe is so dumb to others, but you don't know what's going on the inside. You don't know what we're dealing with. Yet, there's no excuse. So I will definitely give myself permission. I will continue to give myself permission to say no to any situation, whether it's my mom, friends, associates, co-workers, lovers, whatever situation, relationships, anything that's going to drain me emotionally, it's a no. I think I mentioned that um the first minding my heart, right? Because boundaries, they aren't rejection. They're not rejection, they're preservation. I noticed that. Boundaries aren't rejection, they're preservation. And I'm saying that with my heart in my hand. I'm minding my heart. I am minding my heart. And it's not easy all the time, because sometimes I'm minding business that doesn't really serve me. But it's almost like I feel the need to correct certain things. And that taught me that I have to give myself permission to say no to these situations that are draining me emotionally. So, the other thing that I am, because I do have my sisters who are, shout out to my sisters, they've been really hands on with my mother. Out of 5 siblings, there's pretty much 3 of us who are on the phone with mom and dealing with everything. And then I have one that really did her, Belinda tried her best with her capacity, with what she knows. She tried her best. We have to use the observer mindset in these family conflicts, man. We got to observe. Yes. There could be tense sibling moments, right? And I gotta picture myself sometimes as a calm observer rather than a combatant. Like I'm gonna go in there and combat. And I usually guilty. I'm guilty. I'm guilty. I do that. What in the ooh, I can't even breathe. I sometimes feel like I'm not even breathe. I sound like I'm breathing heavily right now. It's it's the anxiety of even having this conversation. This is real talk. This is real talk. It's hard. It is hard, but it's not impossible because, all right, in sibling moments, right, in those tense sibling moments where we picture ourselves as the calm observer and we don't want to be the verbal combat person to go back, because I could be so reckless. I have to listen without rushing to correct or prove and disengage when conversations turn toxic. Again, past few weeks, I found myself in those moments. I felt the need to correct and prove and disengage. Now I'm disengaging because sometimes you got to touch the iron to know it's hot. But I am unapologetic about certain things. These things have to happen. I know silence is more powerful than retaliation. It is because your silence means that's not important to me. What's important is that I'm honoring I'm honoring her because when she's gone, I got to deal with it still. So you can apply that in your everyday life. You can. You can. I don't regret certain things. I think I've learned from everything I've done, but I am learning to listen a lot better without rushing to correct or prove or just engage in these conversations that turn toxic. That are toxic. They don't turn, they're toxic. So I'm working on the silence as well. All right. What else can we talk about in terms of trying to, I don't know, really maintain a conversation with the parent, whether it's your mom or your dad? How do you let go gracefully? A lot of people say, "Oh, you should write a letter to your mom expressing how you wish you could say and whether you send it or not." I wrote a poem. My mom doesn't have the capacity to even understand what I'm saying right now. She would, but it'll be all. It's. I'm not doing that to her. If your mom doesn't have no dementia or Alzheimer's and she's understanding everything, you may want to engage in that conversation. I can't do that right now. I wrote a poem. She's actually been on the show too. She goes through it. What I like to do is I like to share memories with her that are safe, right? Because somehow, depending on how your upbringing was, one great memory always leads to a bad one. So I try to like highlight that great memory. One memory I have about my mom that I love so much. I love so much. I love so much, and I'm gonna try to say this without tearing because right now I feel like I'm about to cry. One memory I love, we went to Puerto Rico and we had left because we were supposed to move to Puerto Rico to be in a better environment from the projects out in John Adam houses. And we all went. I stayed behind with my godmother. She couldn't afford a ticket for myself. So she went over with my sisters. And when we were there, things didn't work out. He was trying to kill her as well over there, the domestic violence. So when I finally went to Puerto Rico for the first time, I think I lasted there like maybe a month or two because immediately I came back. We all came back together. And when we came back to our apartment, because her neighbor, her buddy, held on to the keys to the apartment over at John Adam Houses. And when we were there, we had no furniture, nothing. Our furniture got lost in Puerto Rico from the transition. Somehow our furniture, everything was lost, and all we had was one mattress, huge mattress. And I remember how she would make all these little things for us. She would bake these cakes, and we were eating this weird food. You know what I mean? Like, I know this food was weird. Like, it was basically, we don't have that much money, but she worked so hard because she had to get us all our beds, all our coats, all our kitchen. She had to get everything from scratch all over again, you know? And I just remember those days because I remember just all of us, my sister, us three with my mom, my other older brother and sister were out of the home already. But it was us three together. We're all 1 year apart, laying in one mattress with her, with our blanket, watching TV because we did have a TV. I remember that. And then she would just make these little soups for us that were kind of like, I don't know, corns. It was just these different things. And I just remember as a little girl, I knew that she was doing everything in her power. I knew this as a kid. I kid you not. I knew it. I was just like, damn, mom is just doing everything she can just to keep us together. I don't know about that level of emotional intelligence at that age. I'm being honest. I remember what she did for us. I remember that was the Christmas we found out that Santa did not exist. Shout out to the poem. It's called it's about Christmas. I have that poem out there. Um so yeah, those are the memories that are safe but not safe because we get into I just remember her love for us, just being lovable. There was no man, there was no nothing, there was just us. We would watch there. She would heat up the house with the oven at the same time, and the apartment, I should say, and she would just we would take turns on who's getting a jacket, who's getting a coat. She did what she could. So those are those moments that I am remembering. I'm remembering her dancing salsa, being a great dancer because I'm holding on to everything right now because I'm too busy trying to figure out what the hell's going on as she goes, trying to make sense of it. So that's how I'm trying to create closure without confrontation. That's what it looks like for me. And I know closure, and anyone struggling with this, just know that it does come from within. It comes from you having the willingness to stay in a place of grace, knowing that things weren't right for you. I get that part. I get it. Say it out loud to yourself in a room if you want to, express it how you want to. But know that that closure comes from within. It does. It doesn't necessarily come from an apology or a reconciliation. It definitely comes from within. And I know that sometimes we forget we have to anchor ourselves outside the family dynamic. We have to. I maintain friendships. I try to continue doing my hobbies. And as you know, I love my poetry. This is why we do what we do. Some of my routines that remind me of who I am beyond my family role. I'm Dr. Poetry outside of that family that I was born and raised into. People say speak to a therapist, speak to a spiritual guide or a support group to process emotions. If that works for you, that's great. Um, that really doesn't work for me. Maybe the spiritual guide, and not even. I think I tap into myself now. Maybe I'm in denial. I don't know. Guilty. But back to forgiveness. Trying to practice those little micro forgiveness things, right? I'm trying. Let's try to aim for little baby steps of forgiveness. I don't feel like it's gonna come in a one wave, like aiming for one sweep of act of forgiveness. I think we have to release small little resentments as they come, because that's gonna prevent us from being bitter. You know, it's gonna prevent us. It's gonna prevent us from feeling so bitter, right? And it's gonna definitely try to keep our heart a little lighter over time. And I think that's what I'm working on, keeping my heart a little lighter. You know, I remember Erica Badu. She used to say, "Bag lady," pack light. And I understood that metaphor is big time. I love that, bag lady. You don't want all the emotional bags to keep you from moving forward. You gotta clean your house, and your house is your temple. Your temple. clean it, your empire. I say that all the time. And that I could say that I stand on. That's why I have these conversations. All right. So I was reading about ritualizing my goodbye. Ritualizing my ritual. Ritualizing my goodbye. Hmm. So when the time comes, I guess I will create a personal ritual, a prayer, a candlelight, I don't know, a quiet walk to say goodbye in my own way. I know that's going to help me transition emotionally, even if that relationship with my mom was complicated. I do believe that. The reason why I don't say I know is because I don't know. So I could only believe. I could only have faith. I could only trust. I could only encourage myself that's going to happen. So when I share these things with everyone, I know someone out there is probably going through that right now. That's why I really feel like it's okay. And it's not easy. It is not easy. I tell you, it's not easy. Now, I have something else that I wanted to play for y'all. And I hope you're enjoying yourself so far. I hope this has been helpful in any way for anyone. Because when I say I be having my moments, y'all. I really do. Sometimes I just be like, bad timing, y'all. You're not right now. I'm going through it. Like, please leave, go that way. Not right now. When I listen to certain things that be happening around these streets everywhere, I'm like, if you only knew. Not to say that that's not important, but my priorities are my priorities. I can't put my energy in some stuff. And sometimes I have to let you know that I got to protect my peace because you're messing with my peace. Oh, it's not easy. All right. So there's something else that I wrote. Shout out to Def Poetry. We wrote a piece called A Tuma Called Life. Yeah, we wrote something called A Tuma Called Life. And that to me, when I hear it, I know it's real, y'all. So what I want to do with that, I want you to listen. There was a time where I realized everything we do, how we react, it does affect our nervous system. It really does. It affects mine. And one thing I've noticed is that if I'm honest with myself, right? If I'm honest with myself and I'm trying to understand certain things because upbringing is very important. How you were raised, who raised you, how did you deal with problems? What learned behavior did you attach yourself to? You know, what did you have to rewire? Because a lot of things I had to rewire. I saw a lot of things in my home that I said I'm not going to do. And uh, congratulations, because I didn't. It was like, I'm not going to do that. Well, I don't want that. I definitely don't want to be like that. I'm the youngest. So I was able to see every individual in the home, including my mom and my dad. And one of the things I've learned is that we can choose to be malignant or benign. It's like a tumor. If the doctor says you may be having a tumor in your brain, you may have a tumor in your brain that you have a mass. Let's say he says you have a mass in your brain, and you decide to go straight to benign. I don't know. Sometimes somehow I feel like there's power in that. Wherever our attention goes, our energy flows, right? We cultivate in our higher self. So whatever we cultivating in our higher self, that's gonna be the outcome. See, when I speak like this, there's a lot of folks that just be like, ah, that's that positivity shit. But when I go in the lower self, which I have not been there in a minute. But lately is knocking on my door. It's been knocking on my door. It's like, lower self, come on now. We here. Let's go. And I don't want to. Because I know what that does to me. So we make decisions. We choose if we want to see the malignancy in things or benign. This is Soma called life.
As a young Boricua girl, where once I was naive, where bravery flourished into silent pain, my kindness drowned in disdain, cause empathy falters and trust be brittle, yeah brittle, while loyalty is broken, anger hides behind the poetic tears, poetic traumas, poetic tumors that grow real hard, like karma. Is the world really spinning at a mechanical pace? Cause shallow smiles in my face with counterfeit grace. A sister, a brother from another mother turns stranger. Dad turns into an apparition. A ghost, too many connections abandoned through the devil's tumor of distrust for the host. Or is it a hoax? Any words? Yeah, those words, once sacred, now vaccines are forgery. Forgery now forged in fire. Cause the truth is distorted by grimy wires glazing the liars. And hatred where love should've, could've, but never will it bloom. Cause there's evil in many in the world where nobody cares. But to make room for death wishes to cast in poisonous ruins. And it's too soon. And what is this even all about? The malignancy of doubt? A seed of suspicion without vivid illustration? While it sleeps in my brain and I'm supposed to do the sign of the cross of superstition? There was once trust, thriving, but now withered and blight. What remains festers in a wound that attempts to dim my light. And it grows unchecked, taking up space. And it has the nerve to leave unwelcome visions in a hollow trace. But those words were once golden, and now they curdle in false evidence, appearing real. Fear, cause every promise is tainted, and every sworn word poisonous, malignant, clearly insincere. But my love is shackled tight, cause benign love recoils. Love recoils as it gradually climbs. Can't fracture trust heal with time? Malignancy lacks empathy while it decays, yet hope persists. Is breath still out there? Beneath the metastatic panic? I'm not ruined. Dickinson said hope is a thing with feathers, and hope may lie, and I will reignite, piecing my softness together where now boldness bravery defies. Cause even embers can reignite and pierce any void with God within me, with healing light. And so I say goodbye to an unwelcome guest at a feast, silent at first, consuming without notice as it expands its presence until the table bends under its weight. Cause it could have been benign and it could have been malignant with stagnant vibes. I killed the beast as it feasts on what was meant to nourish, turning my abundance into decay, stealing my vitality. I multiplied my power that thrives and recites the sacred poetry, praying for permanent peace in this tumor we call life. In this tumor we call life.
In this tumor we call life. That's real shit. The ego-driven will could lead you up that ladder of success, excitement, thrills, frills, then instant regret. Don't get pushed out into the deep end where your morals are too heavy, now too easy to descend. What I heard, shut your ass up. Don't talk back, change your face. Matter of fact, go outside and pick me a switch. Shit better not break either. Only thing breaking is bad habits, false doctrines, rebellious natures, false prophets. A poor kid with no option but to be taught to think for himself, to search for the keys to wisdom of life, becoming the locksmith. Face to face with my reflection through portals, not even they give a damn who I am. That image could be quickly shattered, broken fragments depicting joy, pain, and laughter. Discerning a good heart from an enemy's banter, allowing wicked chatter to become white noise. If you're on my side and we're that everyone could die, or having faith that everyone has the discipline to do their job and keep everyone alive.
A tumor called life.
Though I've seen limb after limb, thanking God I returned with my aura renewed, undimmed, knowing now peace was fleeing, frail and brief with war's dark beast, who knows nothing about relief.
It's a tumor called life.
I'm Death Poetry,
It's a tumor called life.
Dr. Poetry.
It's a tumor called life.
is something right there, boy. I tell you, it's a tumor called life, because life could be a tumor. At least that's how I see it. Not everybody has to agree, but I do see it like that sometimes, yeah. I do. I really do. It's crazy, but it's real. A lot of people don't see it that way though. And it's not easy to like it's not easy to explain, but it was definitely an epiphany. I had an epiphany. I was like, I mean, it's how you see it. Like doctors could tell you a lot of things. They're like, "Oh, this looks like you're not going to be able to make it." And if you tap into yourself, you're like, "I'm going to make it. I don't care what you say." And then when you look at life, you're like, "Cause I went through this. I survived this. I survived that. I was able to get through all this crazy world of life." Life throws tumors. A lot of people say lemons, but I'm like, they're tumors, you know? Masses of self-destruction, masses of reconstruction. you could you decide. You want to construct or you want to destroy? I don't know. We decide, right? But anyway, so I want to give a couple of things before we go. I want to talk about some situations that we deal with. Especially, this is strictly for parents who are going through dementia. You know, it's a lot. It's a lot, but it's okay. Take a deep breath. Ooh, stretch it out. Shake it out. Shimmy. You have to shimmy it. Oh, we have to shimmy. I can't say I love it because I don't. Um, let's talk about it really quick. I'm gonna make this one short because it's really tough. It's really tough to watch. Where one of your parents, when one of your parents are struggling with dementia, you know, some of them already had a hostile and aggressive and emotionally difficult personality before they even were diagnosed with dementia. And then you see a decline. You see them declining and declining and declining. What am I telling myself during this process right now? After conversing with my sisters this week, I'm gonna accept that I cannot fix her personality. I cannot I cannot expect her to change her personality at the age of 80 plus. All right. Dementia already amplifies pre-existing traits. So if she's already kind of like a hostile mom, she may become sharper, more suspicious, more volatile already, you know? So I've had to accept that. I'm like, I have to accept that I can't fix her personality. I have to accept that this is not my fault. And it's not always a direct reflection of how they, you know, she may, if it's your mom or your dad, it is not always a direct reflection of how they feel about you or how they feel, period. It's usually what I'm learning and I'm reading and I'm researching is the illness that's talking. It's almost like alcohol, right? You ever drink and you drink so much and you start talking, I feel like men grow balls and women grow ovaries. They tend to start talking about things they would never have spoken, that would never mentioned before, but they want to talk about it because they're feeling, it's what we call the liquor speaking, the drunkenness, the intoxication. Well, in dementia, the illness starts to speak. And I swear it sounds like the exorcist, the little girl in the bed, you know, talking really nasty at you. That's what it looks like to me. Dementia looks like that to me. For real, it does. It just takes me there. So we have to try to detach that emotionally triggering thing that happens, trying to change our parents. I learned that I can't change her. And I have to focus on managing my own reaction. So if she comes out her face, I'm gonna give you a good example. My sister was like, "Hey mom, what did you eat today? Here's the illness." We struggle trying to figure out if it's the illness or it's her personality. I truly believe it's both. I think they're aggravated. it aggravates, it amplifies her illness. She said to my sister, "Food." We were like, "Okay, really? You gonna say it like that?" Food. How do we react to that? My sister's so loving. She was like, "Oh, come on. Oh my God, why?" And she was just like, "Why did you?" And we played it off and we laughed it off, but in our hearts, like, she was so mean. We have to try to we have to try. We don't have to do anything, by the way. Anyone listening, you don't have to do a damn thing. I'm just sharing what when I say we, I'm really speaking about my sisters and I. This is not for you. Please don't get in your feelings. Oh, she ain't trying. You better do because God, the world is ugly lately. It's ugly. This is a conversation. If you feel it, you know it, right? But this conversation is pretty much geared to any siblings out there dealing with letting go of your parents, and especially those with struggling with dementia. So when I say we have to detach emotionally from trying to change our parents, right? Um, we need to focus on managing our own reactions. If you feel it, you know it, right? Um, we also have to try to protect our emotional space before, during, and after those visits. I think this is something that goes for my sisters because they go a long way. They travel. They travel, they get there, and when I get there, oh my God, when I travel, and then I get upset because I'm like, I took a plane all the way down here to the city for this, and I get all upset. Then I gotta suck it up because my sisters they have a front row seat to the madness. They're there all the time. They go in and out, in and out. They pick up the phone calls, they deal with the doctors, and I hear it as well. I'm over here, but how do you protect your emotional space before, during, and after that visit that you know is going to be challenging because you see things you want to just flip? So in reading and researching, it was telling me that before we see them, we should center ourselves with calming techniques. It sounds cheesy. I know. I'm going to be like deep breathing, prayer, or affirmations. Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I do this with work because I've been a police officer for almost 20 years now. Every time right before I leave my house, I would always say, "I'll see you soon. I'm coming right back. Okay, I look at my dog. I'm making it home today. We're going to have a good shift. No matter how tough it gets, we're all going to make it home. And I will never have to use my weapon today. I don't have to use my weapon today. And if I use my weapon today, I'm going to save my life and I'm going to save someone's life." Like, that was my affirmation in rice and beans. So that has always been easy for me. I never thought about that when it came to visiting my mom. Think about it. I'm going to do all that to visit my mom? What kind of mom do you have? People would ask, right? Or siblings. But I remember this flight when I was in New York, I said to myself, "Man, I'm not having it today. Whatever I see, I'm just going to okay, I'm not doing this today and I'm going to get up and go." And you know what? I did that. I did that. I said, "What we're not going to do today is this." And I'm leaving. And I remember getting up, putting on my jacket, and leaving. Um, that was an affirmation for me. So if prayer works for you, deep breathing, go for it. Now, in my case, I didn't want to keep my visit short because I don't live where she lives. I live on the island and they live in the city in New York. So I tried to keep my visit long, but I was triggered. So it became a short one. So there's a lot of advice about and encouraging, tips for anyone going through it. One of the things that they say is keep visits short and settings that are less likely to trigger aggression. Quiet, well lit, not crowded. Easier said than done. Okay? Easier said than done. So another thing they talk about is have a post-visit decompression routine. Walk, journal, call a supportive friend to release the emotional residue. Shout out to Bree Talks. I try not to dump. I don't do emotional dumping. I kind of realize that I'm like, how you doing with that? I try to vet how the person's doing, and then I start talking about my stuff, and then I realize, you know what? Slow it down, pull it back. You don't want to emotionally dump. Come back. I do write, obviously, my poetry, but sometimes even that's not helpful. So I just watch TV. I watch TV sometimes. Sue me. Well, not just TV. Like I'll watch a movie or something that has nothing to do with anything that I'm going through. Something totally out there. I don't know. I'll be watching some, I don't know, something strange out there. I'll give you an example. What was I watching the other day? And I like period pieces too. You know, those movies that are from like the, I don't know, 1750, you know, a lot of castles and stuff like that. It allows me to keep my mind somewhere else, and I'm not really thoroughly. It's my escape a little bit, so I do that. Um, so yeah, I'll take care of that. Um, they say, you know, one of the things that came up is about strategic communication. When you're speaking to a parent that has dementia, we should avoid topics that historically, there goes that word again, sparked conflict. If I know that the conversation about smoking cigarettes while being diagnosed with uh, COPD, right? Chronic obstruction pulmonary disease, it's going to make her upset because she just feels like, oh, you keep talking about cigarettes and, I do whatever I want. I'm not going to talk about it as much as I want to because I really want to be like, you're in this position because you're smoking. But what am I doing? Am I really helping? So I need to keep my language simple, neutral, and I'm reassuring, you know, even if she may accuse me of an insult, you know, something like, Ma, you look really bright today. You look healthy because there are times that she does look healthy, but her attitude is not healthy, you know. So I try to do that, and then as much as I want to flip, like another phone call with a sibling of mine, my older sibling, I kind of want to yell. I kind of be like, "What are you doing?" But I got to use a calm tone and redirect the conversation, you know. So it's the same thing with my mom, like, "Oh, let's look at these photos." Or, "Do you remember that song? Hey, remember that guy? You know what I was thinking about? Whatever happened to him?" And that helps out a little bit. It changes the scenery. And she might be stuck and angry about something she wants to get her way about something, and I kind of change it. It's not always helpful. My sisters and I could tell it's not always helpful. And I know you guys know this. So we have to try to set some boundaries without justifying them. If my mom becomes verbally abusive, it's okay to say, I'm going to step out right now. I'm leaving. And I did that. Um, I don't want to endure aggression. I don't. I do not want to endure aggression because they're ill. I don't want to hear that. And I say this as a woman who went to therapy for not being able to have children. I'm not going to sit around and be mean to people because I can't have children. No. That never even crossed my mind. But then again, I know where I usually resonate. I don't resonate in low vibration. I usually resonate in high frequency, in a high frequency, high vibrations. So it's hard for me to sit and watch people use their diagnosis to be evil, right? And I look at my mom and I'm like, okay, I know you have that, and I know it's hard. It's the illness speaking. I get that, but I shouldn't have to endure in that, and my sisters shouldn't either. So I understand. I always say this to my sisters: limit the amount of caregiving you take on directly. You know, directly they're there, hands on. Directly like front row. You know what I mean? And I feel like they could fall back sometimes. Because it could be harming to anyone's mental health. You get headaches. You know, I don't. Everyone has the right to seek professional help or delegate. I think that's all right. You know, And we always try to avoid sibling conflict. One thing we're good at is we avoid it. We really do. We're pretty good. At least my sister Julia, Jesse, and I, we really try our best. You know, we expect that something like dementia or my mom's amplified hostility and aggression, that could intensify. It could intensify old family rivalries. We start bringing up things that happened in the past, and we do that. We like, remember when this happened? Remember what this happened? This has always been this way. I can't believe this happened. And that just, woo, that gives me, it almost gives me muse to write. This is why I've been writing so much. But I understand my sisters. I really get it. We've been really, really good with my mom. We really have. And I get it. I get it. I love them so much. I love my sisters so much. And so we always have these updates. We have our group chats. We talk. That's a good thing. Everybody tries to share. We truly avoid dragging old, what do you call these, grievances, into making those caregiver decisions. It We don't even talk about that. We're not about that. But I do encourage anybody who is going through that to try to avoid that. Keep the conversations focused on the present needs. We don't want to talk about, if you know that a sibling it has a certain way of dealing with conflict, then you don't want them in the caregiver seat, right? If you know they're not that responsible, but they work with what they have, we got to work on their strengths. And that's what I noticed my sisters did. They did a good job at that. They were like, well, look, so and so may not be great at this, but she's good at this. And she's gonna do this. And I gotta give kudos to my sisters, man. They're doing they really are. Even the one that's kind of like, rough, she did what she could with what she had and what she knows, with her capacity, what she's able to do, what bring to the table. So detachment doesn't mean coldness. That's what I've been told. It means not letting every word or action pierce you. Everybody could accuse, not everybody, but some people accuse me of being cold because I don't react all the time. I respond, but I don't react all the time. Because some people or certain situations, depending where it's coming, if it's a pattern, I'm like, whatever. I state what I feel what I state, and that's it. I don't have to prove anything to you or to anybody. There are times I will have to explain it because I feel like I do. I feel the need to. So if I feel the need to, I will check it. But when it comes to detaching myself, I detach with compassion. I really do. I remind myself internally, this is a disease. This is not entirely mom. This is not her. Like, I know this is not her. I lost her already. Because I feel like you feel like you lost them already. They're there. Their avatar's there. They're talking, but it's not them. So responding to hostility with short, calm answers is hard. I'm not going to feed the escalation, right? Like, I got to deal with that on my family's level. You know what I mean? With my mom. Imagine the outside things that are going on in our lives, outside of what's happening with your mom. You're going to have somebody at the same time try to fuck with you at work or fuck with you on here or there or there. And you just be like, get out of my face. You know what I mean? Just exit left. Create your own goodbye. Because I'm going to be honest with you. What hurts me is that with dementia, you already lost your parent in pieces. There's little pieces that you're losing from your parent. Like, I no longer could call my mom and have a conversation or normal conversation with her. I cannot. I cannot talk about, oh my God, today, mommy, I was arrested. This guy, he jumped up the stairs and it was so crazy. And she would normally be like, really? Oh my God. But we don't have that conversation anymore. I can't talk to her about that anymore. I can't call dad. He's dead. I can't be like, oh, Bobby, I saw this happen. Did you see the earthquake in Puerto Rico? Oh my God. Did you see the Yankees? That's not happening anymore. So it's kind of rough, right? But you got to deal with it. You got to understand that a goodbye is a goodbye, right? So creating my own goodbye has been a little difficult for me. I get a little teary eye. I'm trying to control my breathing because it's a little sad for me sometimes. It really is. So I'm finding ways to say goodbye to the version of my mom, the version of mom that I knew, right? And it's my memory box up here, you know? It's that quiet moment of reflection when I smell a certain fried chicken that she used to fry, you know? Or a certain song that goes directly to her. Sometimes it leads to other memories that I don't want. That's the tricky part, you know? But every time I see Little House on the Prairie, I think of her. I don't know why. I don't know why, but I watched Little House on the Prairie. It reminds me of when things were so innocent. We were little, and she would come into the bed and just, when we were just little and things were so innocent. This is helping me grieve the relationship that I wish I had. At the same time, I'm offering basic respect to their final chapter. My dad and my mom. The reason why I say that is because even though dad died in 2020, I feel like I fully haven't mourned him because so much happened in 2020. Can we talk? There was so much going on that it was like I went to bury him, to jumping into the pandemic, to going through there was so much going on. And I don't know. It's like sometimes those things pop up, like seeing her going through that. Now I'm going through remembering that. So it's like a mumble jumble. So I'm really trying to find ways to say goodbye to the version of my parents that I knew through my own poetry or my moment of, that quiet little moment when you have by yourself or when you're drinking some tea. That's what I'm talking about. It helps. So this has been helpful. I hope you guys took something away from this conversation. I hope you were able to, I don't know, identify. And if you didn't, you were listening and you can help somebody else. I appreciate you. Just make sure that you love no matter what. Love yourself first. So you have to. You got to make sure if you don't feel like you have any love inside of you, you do. You do. You really do. It's not easy. You see me here calm. There are days I want to punch somebody in the face. There are days where I want to just do the worst. And then I calm myself because I say to myself, that's just anger. Anger that I know I control. I control it. I really do. I'm a responsible human being when it comes to my feelings and my emotions. Doesn't mean we don't think about it. Anybody ever watch Ally McBeal, that old school show? Remember she used to kind of like look at them and imagine decapitating somebody's. It's crazy. But energy is important. And the reason why I say that is because I could say all that, but I deep down know that you got to try to resonate in a peaceful place. You got to find that peaceful place and try your best to be at peace with yourself. It's been a wonderful, wonderful, um, just knowing that I'm able to sit back and try to think about this. You're in a place of willingness to be better. That is not about your ego. It's not about only your pain. You got to try to put yourself in somebody else's shoe, and that's called empathy. And so we are all growing old. I don't care how young you are. Every day you grow older. You get closer to another year. And we may be those that may need someone when we get older, right? So trying to understand that, know that we're not exempt. All right, y'all. This is Minding Your Heart with Dr. Poetry. I appreciate you all. And make sure that you come through for Saturday. That's right. We are coming back. Hear Me Out Poetry Season 3, Episode 1 is on Saturday. That's right. We have a lot going on. Everyone's coming back. We back to recording, back to being live. It's going to be great. So have a wonderful one. Shout out to all of y'all. And thank y'all for listening. See you soon.
Energy's the new currency. It's what I'm being told. So I'm just gonna let my energy flow. And I hope you get it. Where power reigns supreme. Energy's the currency that fuels our dreams. No more dollars, no more cents, just watts and volts. That's how we gon' pay the rent. Oh baby, it's energy. No more gold and silver, it's the brand new currency called energy. Energy's the key. Some say it's the fortune and fame, but all I keep seeing is the currency. I keep hearing energy. Energy, energy, charging up lives, setting up some free lights within us, playing chess in 3D. From the morning's light to the midnight hour, our energy is the source that gives us that righteous power. From the morning's light